Oh, hey, look at that. Ring of Elysium's got an update. I wonder what they've got going on here. Ooh, we've got new people we can pick. We've got new... Oh, isn't that pretty? Look at all this cool stuff. I'm so happy that they've done all... What's this? No, you didn't. You dirty, rotten, sons of bitchin' motherfuck... Well, I promised I'd be putting out more content for everyone here, and I meant it, although this isn't exactly the content you probably have been expecting from me. If you've been watching any of my streams or seen any of my videos, this is a video I've had kicking around in the back of my head for quite some time. And my discussion the other day that I had in my video about Fallout 76 and the problems with it, with the cash shop, with the microtransactions, with the possible XP boosts, with the loot store, all those things kind of brought it to a head. I really needed to make this video, so here it is. And this video is about microtransactions. Our favorite subject as gamers, right? Microtransactions. What a great idea. How many ways can we get money out of our player base? I hate microtransactions. Hate them. So much hate. And I'm going to tell you why in this video. And I'm going to go over a little bit of a history of microtransactions and a little bit of what microtransactions have done to games and the gaming industry as a whole, and why they are a terrible thing. In fact, it might be the worst thing that's happened to the gaming industry in 20 years. Now, mainly in this video, I'm going to be talking about microtransactions in games that actually cost real money. I will be touching on free-to-play games and microtransactions in those as well, and their impact, but for the most part, I want to focus in on games that we've already paid for, that now we're paying for more things within the game as we go. And I'm also not talking about DLCs. I'm not talking about expansions and things like that. So expansions and DLCs to me are additional content in a game that you already like, that you're paying for, to be able to play the game and have an enjoyable experience. So I'm not really taking those into account. We've had expansions for games for a long time. I mean, World of Warcraft's a perfect example. They've had, what, it's 7 now? I think. It sounds about right. You know, Elder Scrolls has had a bunch. Any MMO has a lot of expansions. Most games have a lot of expansions. Horizon Zero Dawn had an expansion last year. So expansions I'm not as worried about, because that's brand new content that you're paying for in a game that you've already purchased, that you want to play more. What I'm going to be talking about specifically as microtransactions are things like cash shops, loot boxes, and things like that. In, for the most part, games you've already paid for. Now, the biggest issue I have with this is that it's so prevalent now to have a cash shop in your game that it seems like every game you buy, there's an attached cash shop. I remember back in the day, and I know I'm sounding like an old fogey here, but I don't care. You bought a game and you got a disc. You got an actual disc you put into a console, or you got an actual floppy disk that you put into a computer. Yes, I remember having the 10 disc of X-Wing that I put onto my Tandy 386 back in the day. But when you bought the game, you got the whole game. One time, one purchase, done. Game, bought, purchased, sold, played, had a good time doing it. I put hundreds of hours into X-Wing. I mean, I bought the game once. Okay, fine. But, I mean, did Lucasfilm go out of business? Did Lucas Games just suddenly evaporate because there were no microtransactions? No, they didn't. How about those old PlayStation games? Those old PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 games where you got a disc, you put the disc in the machine, you pressed play, you played the game, you had a good time, you put the game away. Did Square go out of business during those times? I don't think they did. I don't seem to remember them going out of business. In fact, I think they're still going strong. Isn't that amazing? How about Capcom? Capcom had monetary difficulties because of their own idiocy and mismanagement, but as far as their games go, their games didn't put them out of business. Their games made them a bunch of money. So it's possible to make a game and not have a cash shop attached to it. You can do it. It can be done. However, there are all these companies out there that think that unless they have a cash shop attached to their game, unless they have a way to get more money out of their players even after they've bought the game, that they're just suddenly going to go under, is what they make it sound like. And I can tell you right now, that's false. That's absolutely, utterly false. These companies are not going to go under if they don't get their sweet, sweet microtransaction money out of your wallet after you've already bought the game. All you got to do is look at their financials and know they're not going to go out of business. I mean, do you really believe that EA is going to go out of business if you don't put $5 more into the cash shop? How about Bethesda? How about Activision Blizzard? How about Ubisoft? Any of these companies? Do you honestly think that unless you spend $2 on that cool new hat, that suddenly they're going to go out of business and never be able to make content again? No, that's bullshit. It's not going to happen. They have plenty of money. So those are the games we're going to be going over for the most part. I want to go over a bunch of popular games that are out right now or are coming out in the next month-ish or have been out for a while, where they have huge cash shops and get huge cash flows off of them. So let's go over a list. Just a real quick list of a lot of games that are popular right now or that are either brand new or coming out directly that have attached cash shops that cost real money for you to buy to start with. Not free to play, not early access. These are AAA games that you can either get on Steam or through the companies themselves on their websites or at a GameStop where you can actually pick up a disc. So here's a quick list. Star Wars Battlefront 2, World of Warcraft, Call of Duty Black Ops, Rocket League, Dead by Daylight, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, Fallout Shelter, Grand Theft Auto 5, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, Overwatch, and FIFA. Now, that's not an all-inclusive list of all of the games that are either popular or out now or will be out shortly. That's just me going through Google, basically, and or going through my Steam list and just looking at games that had some type of microtransaction attached to it. So this isn't all of them. This is just a quick list. I literally took about, 15 minutes and came up with this many. I'm certain if you gave me a couple of hours and, a few $100s for research fees, I could come up with even more. If I'm really good, I could probably come up with dozens of more games that do this kind of thing. One I just thought of right off the top of my head, Assassin's Creed Origins has a huge cash shop attached to it. Battlefield, I think Battlefield 5 is going to have a cash shop on it. So, I mean, this is not an all-inclusive list, and that's just what I came up with off the top of my head. So, and these are all AAA titles. I mean, I guess, Rocket League and Dead by Daylight, you could sort of argue that they aren't exactly AAA titles, but they're so popular they might as well be. I mean, go jump on Twitch or YouTube Gaming and type in Dead by Daylight and or Rocket League, and you'll probably find 20 people streaming it right now. So these are very popular games with people that maybe they don't have the actual AAA title, but they might as well. So, and these are all by big, huge companies that are putting out these games. And by big, huge companies, a lot of these games, you notice there's a theme here. There are 3 companies on this list anyway that make most of these games. Those companies are EA, Blizzard Activision, and Bethesda. So those are the 3 big ones for this list that I just happened to find. Like I said, there's probably others out there. There's other companies too. There's Ubisoft. There's a few others that you could also put in this list. But for the ones that I listed, those are the big 3 on here. Now, here's the funny thing about these, which is just ridiculous. The amount of money that they have made off of these microtransactions is insane. It's absolutely asinine, the amount of cash that these people have made off of microtransactions in their games. Here's a couple of examples. Grand Theft Auto 5 is made by Take-Two Interactive. Take-Two Interactive in Q1 of 2018, quarter 1, made $315 million from microtransaction purchases in their games. The main one being Grand Theft Auto 5. $315 million in a quarter. That's $100 million a month from microtransactions. Do a little bit of math. $1.2 billion a year in microtransactions that they're making off of this. Another one you might recognize, a little company called Epic Games. They make this little game that you may have heard of called Fortnite. Yeah, it's just a little company. Now, this is one of the free-to-play ones, but considering it's the biggest game ever, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that, it deserves to be on this list. Fortnite made $300 million a month. $300 million a month in microtransactions. I saw an article somewhere. I didn't. You notice I'm putting up articles here where you can go find these at, but I saw another article that I didn't link to, and I should have, that Fortnite cleared $1 billion in 8 months with this. So they just hit $300 million a month earlier this year in microtransactions only for a free-to-play game. Free-to-play game that made $300 million a month this year. That's ridiculous. And for the last one of our examples, we're going to go with Activision Blizzard, which makes little games you may have heard of called Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, and Overwatch. Activision Blizzard made $4 billion off of microtransactions in 2017. Billion with a B, billion dollars in 2017. That's stupefying. That I can't even imagine that amount of money, let alone be able to think if I had a budget to work on that was like that. That's an incredible amount of cash. So you can see these companies are making tons and tons and tons of money off microtransactions. So you can understand why they keep doing it. It's lucrative and it works because people want to buy shiny things. And that's really what it comes down to, is a lot of these microtransactions that you're looking at in a lot of these games, especially in Fortnite. Fortnite is all about shiny things. I don't think there's any kind of competitive boost you get from anything you can buy in the cash shop, from what I remember my 3 hours of playing it and deciding I didn't want to. So a lot of these are just shiny things that people are buying on here. But then you have companies like EA, for instance, with Star Wars Battlefront 2, where their microtransactions were competitive advantages. You know, the Darth Vader controversy, things like that. You have the CSGO loot boxes, which, once again, most of those are just, cosmetic, but they're almost like rites of passage that you went and spent $61,000 for that weapon skin. I mean, it's just things like that. So you can understand why they do it. It's really, really lucrative. It's just asinine. And it's not only companies in the United States. I know I did all this in dollars, but then you got someone like Ubisoft. They made 318 million euros from June of 2017 through March of 2018. I mean, this isn't just an American thing. This is game companies worldwide that are doing this type of thing. So don't look over here at us Americans and say, well, it's your fault. No, it's not. It's just companies everywhere. And the amount of money, it's just like I said, it's a stupefying amount of money. So why is this a bad thing? I hear some of you saying, well, if you don't like it, just don't play that game. I get that. Or if you don't like it, don't go buy the shiny thing off the cash shop. I get that too. I don't need a new Blizzard pet. I don't need to look like a dancing clown while I'm playing a game. I don't need a leopard print weapon skin. So I'm not going to buy those things. But that's not the biggest issue here. The biggest issue is it's appealing to base human nature in so many different ways that it's gotten to the point of almost criminal manipulation. And when I say criminal manipulation, I mean things like the loot boxes. It's why people play slot machines. Put another quarter in, maybe it'll bust. Put another quarter in, and when it hit, you got 3 bars, you got $3 back on that. You feel so good. It's that dopamine release that you get from winning. And it's the same thing that these companies are tapping into. And there's an issue with that, because there are people who are compulsive gamblers. There's people who lose their entire life savings, their house, their car, their marriage dissolves because they can't stop gambling. I don't see how this is different. I really don't. I do see how it's different, actually. It's instead of having someone who's 21 years old off gambling, you've got a 12-year-old with mom's credit card doing it. On Fortnite, or on Overwatch, or on World of Warcraft, or on Battlefront 2, or whatever it happens to be. There's the difference, is that it's the kid with mom's credit card who's ruining them rather than mom. That's a problem. That's a serious problem. It's manipulative and it's extortive. And that's where I have serious issues with it, because video games are supposed to be fun. You're supposed to have a good time playing them. And you know how companies used to make money back when the golden age of video games, late 80s to late 90s, you know how companies made money and how they kept people coming back and how they got new players is they made better content. So many of these games that use microtransactions as their main form of currency and main form of income are terrible. They're either reskins of previous games, FIFA, I'm looking at you, or they're clones of other games. PUBG, Ring of Elysium, Blackout, whatever flavor of the month battle royale you want to put in, or, you know, Battlefront, Call of Duty, Counter-Strike, Global, Battlefield 9, whatever it happens to be. They're either reskinning old games, they're copying each other, and then they're putting in microtransactions to make more money on it. They're not inventing a new game. They're not coming up with a good story. They're not trying to bring a new kind of feel to their game to the table. The only game that I can think of that used microtransactions now that felt that way was Battlefield 1, because it had a really cool story mode to it. And it had some really good voice acting and some nice graphics, and it looked good. But that was an 8-hour campaign in a game that was basically just a reskin of Battlefield 4 for World War I with less weapons. I mean, it really didn't, push the bar at all. So these companies now aren't trying to make something new and fun. They're just reskinning old games and getting as much out of them as humanly possible, as quickly as they can, and then reskinning it again and coming out with it 2 years later. Rinse, repeat. FIFA, the Madden series, the NBA 2K18, 2K17, 2K16, 2K, whatever it happens to be. Doesn't matter. All those games. They're all the same game. They're all exactly the same game. Minimal effort, maximum profit. Nothing new, nothing inventive, just the same old, dull, plodding games that we've had for years. And it really upsets me when someone tries to do something new. Like, there's a couple of really cool indie devs out there that have made some amazing games that are on Steam. And a lot of what they've done has been copied and then repackaged by these bigger companies into games and put them out of business. So just, it's just like the big three automakers here in the United States. When more automakers try to come in, they basically just run them out of business. These big gaming companies are doing the same thing. They're either suing them out of business, they're buying them out, or they're running them out. Activision Blizzard is a perfect example. Activision took over Blizzard because Blizzard threatened them, and they thought they could make a bunch of money off of it. So they, bought them out. And the Blizzard execs were like, well, we'll take our money and laugh all the way to the bank. I don't really blame them. You want to give me $30 million for an idea of mine? Okay. I'll retire. Sure. So I really can't blame them for doing it, but that's the situation that we're in right now, is these games aren't any good, really, when you get right down to it. And they're using their knowledge of the human psyche to manipulate people out of money. And when they're manipulating people out of money, it's sometimes they're manipulating people out of money that either they don't have or isn't theirs. Like in the case of, the kid with mom's credit card or dad's credit card. That's the issue. That's why I have a problem with this. And that's why seeing a cash shop attached to a game immediately makes me want to uninstall the game. It's because I bought your game. I supported your company. I enjoyed playing it. Why do you want more? If you want more, go make another game. Go make a better game. I mean, even one of the games that came out recently that has been lauded as one of the best games that's come out in a long time by Rockstar, Red Dead Redemption 2, it has a cash shop. Even if I owned a PS4, I wouldn't play that game because it has a cash shop. That's where, when I see a cash shop, I uninstall the game. That's just how it works. I mean, the only game I haven't really done that to, well, the two games, Ring of Elysium and Fallout 4. And those are the only two that I haven't uninstalled, because Fallout 4, basically their cash shop, the Creation Club, which is another discussion entirely, I only get things that are on there when they're either at a steep discount or free. And, okay, I'll take that for free. Sure, why not? Or, hey, this is on sale. Sure, I'll take it for 100 credits. I've got like 400 left over. Why not? That's fine. So those are the only times I get anything off there. And you could make an argument that the Creation Club is kind of useless because there's a modding community for Fallout and Skyrim out there that Bethesda doesn't seem to understand or know about. The problem is they do know about them, and the Creation Club was a step toward getting rid of unpaid mods and going towards paid ones. And that's it's obvious that's what's going on. The Creation Club is just there to wean people off of the Nexus free mods and get them prepared to pay for all the mods that are coming out, or all of the additional content, the mini DLCs as they call them, which I just find. And that's the other thing. That's the one of the last things I'll harp on here for this microtransaction craze that we're in right now is the euphemisms that are being used to describe microtransactions to get away from the word microtransaction. Now, if you know anything about me, you know I love George Carlin. I think George Carlin was one of the most brilliant comedians that ever lived. He's got a whole shtick on language and how language can manipulate thought in certain ways. Go YouTube it. Go YouTube George Carlin shell shock. That is one of the best bits on language that I've ever seen, and it's very true, and it's also very funny. So go look at that. But look at the language that's being used to sort of move away from this word microtransaction, which has become a bad word in gaming circles. And this is just from me, once again, Googling for 15-20 minutes. So mini DLC is one of them. That's a euphemism. MTX, just using the letters instead of the word. Recurrent consumer spending. I like that one. Console in-game purchases. Okay, so now we've got a hyphen and like 9 syllables. Games as service. Really? I didn't think this was a service. I thought I just bought a game. In-app purchases, that's a big one for, phone games and tablet games and things like that. In-app purchases. In fact, I think in-app purchases was probably what was used before microtransactions. And then my absolute favorite of all of these euphemisms that are being used. This is my favorite. Think about, when I say this, think about the kind of condescension that just oozes out of this phrase. Are you ready? Player recurrent investment. Investment. Like I'm buying fucking McDonnell Douglas stock or something. No, I'm playing a goddamn game. What the fuck is wrong with you? Player recurrent investment, or PRI, because when you make it an acronym, PRI, it sounds even better, doesn't it? It sounds like something you can just give to your stockholders or talk about it, like the yearly meeting with all of the people from Wall Street and the PRI, as they stroke their beers and smoke their $300 cigars and sip on their $400 glass whiskey. PRI, player recurrent investment. No, bullshit. It's a microtransaction. Stop trying to cover it up with flowery fucking language. That's ridiculous. God, I hate that bullshit. And it's very true. They're trying to get away from that word microtransaction and make it into something else by using language to do so. Hey, Shecky, guess what? Changing the name of what you're doing doesn't change what you're fucking doing, okay? You're basically taking a game that you spent very little money on, pushing it out the door for $60, probably with a whole bunch of bugs, because who gives a fuck, right? And then charging people for XP boosts or cosmetics or special characters or, emotes and all this other crap, or even better, the loot boxes. There you go, the loot boxes, the total dice roll gamble that you can spend $5 a roll on. Don't worry, if you don't like it, you can actually just trade it back in for, Exterium or whatever the fuck your in-game currency is. Yeah, I can turn it back in for whatever your in-game currency is, but that $5 is still out of my wallet. So you still win either way. It's infuriating, some of the tricks that they try and play. And like I said, it all comes down to this is a manipulative, extortive model that got started with the phone apps back in the day and has moved to PC gaming and is now going to console gaming because everything's connected online all the time, so they can do it that way. We keep going further and further and further down this road, and it needs to stop. And it needs to stop because sooner or later, you're going to start getting games where you download the game or you buy the game or whatever it is, and before you can do anything even in like character creation, you have to go into the microtransaction store and buy something to be able to create your character. And then once you're going for 5 levels, oh, you've been going for 5 levels, now there's an expansion you need to get and a premium package to be able to go from level 5 to level 10. And then, you know, it's like anyone remember the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, where it was free to play from levels 0 to 10, but then after that it was still free to play, but you leveled slower. What they should have said is that you leveled at the speed of tectonic movement after level 10. Like level 10 to level 20, I played that game until I got to level 20. From level 10 to level 20, it literally took me, I think it took me 3 hours to go from level 10 to level 11. It was just a glacial pace. You know, it moved at the speed of smell. It was just ridiculous. So the day is going to come when that's going to happen. There are people out there who are predicting that by 2024, there'll be a 50% increase in microtransaction revenue from games over what it is right now. And right now, it's something stupendous. I think I saw $22 billion in microtransaction revenue across the gaming industry last year. So imagine it being $30 to $40 billion. I mean, it needs to stop. And the only way it's going to stop is if you and I and your buddies and everyone else stops buying games that have these kind of predatory business practices built into them. That's the only way it's going to stop. If you vote with your dollars, it will end. Bottom line. Because, once again, like I said in my last video, these companies are run by accountants. When they start seeing that they're going more and less into the black because of their practices, they'll change their practices. It will happen. You just have to stop supporting the games that do it. Whether they're free to play, or whether they're buy to play, or whether they're subscription model, I don't care. Stop playing the game. Stop supporting these companies. Because sooner or later, that's where we're going to be at. And the gaming industry seems to have a disconnect because everywhere I've read, everything I've read from the gaming companies and from these game review sites, and I use that term as loosely as humanly possible, talk about how, well, this is the new normal, this is how things are going to be from now on. But all the gamers are like, no, we don't want this. And the gaming industry is, well, that's how it's going to be. And we're not doing enough to stop them from doing it because we're still buying their games. If you tell them, no, I'm not buying your game that has a cash shop in it, the cash shops will go away. That's what happens. Go play an indie game. Go support an indie developer. Go play Subnautica. Go play Stardew Valley. Although, does Stardew Valley have a cash shop? I can't remember. I don't know. Go play No Man's Sky. I mean, go play 7 Days to Die. Go play Walking Dead. I mean, go play any of these games out there that are great games that have no cash shop involved, and have fun playing those. No Man's Sky, you can go play multiplayer now. There you go. You can go be a space pirate and still PvP against people, just like you can in a bunch of other games, in a infinite universe with your buddies, and have a really good time, and not have to worry about cash shop. And all the DLCs for that have been free. So, Subnautica, fantastic game. I bought it for $20. Beautiful game. Did a fantastic job with it. Anything they come out with in the future, I'll probably buy because I think it was an amazing game and it was a great premise with a really good story. That's how video game companies should act, is that they should put out a game that people like, that people buy, and then use the money that they made off that game to go make another game that people like and want to buy. That's kind of how business works. It shouldn't be this, well, here's this piece of shit, but it's got this cool cash shop put into it with all these neat skins and all these cool emotes that if you roll the dice enough, you'll get. Just keep pumping dollars into the next step is PCs are going to come with like a dollar bill feeder like you get on the vending machines. That's going to be the next step. So it's time to put another dollar in so I can keep playing. No, I don't want that. You don't want that. Nobody wants that except the accountants who run these goddamn companies. Like I said, if you stop supporting those games and stop supporting this extortive, manipulative, bullshit business model, they will stop making games that include them. So now it's up to you. You have to decide, do you want to keep feeding money into the machine? Or should we stop this? I think it needs to end. It really does. We need to send this message to the gaming company. It's like, no, We don't want this. We don't care how many times you tell us this is the new normal. We're not going to buy your game. There's plenty of indie developers out there that are doing this. And you know, when I knew this became the biggest problem is when I realized that Solitaire on Windows 10, Solitaire, you know, the game you used to play when you were bored out of your skull at work and had nothing to do and all the servers were down, you're like, I'll play some Solitaire. That now has a cash shop. I'm sorry. I just find that so ridiculous. It has a cash shop. Solitaire with cards. There's a cash shop. No. Just no. Oh. But anyway, that's my feeling on it. That's my feeling on the microtransaction issue. What are yours? Tell me down in the comments below. Definitely like, comment, subscribe. Click the little bell notification. And like I said, I'll be doing more content coming up here in the coming weeks. I'm slowly but surely getting over this wonderful flu-like sickness I have. Or maybe it is cancer from microtransactions. It might be. It might be microtransaction, leukemia or something. I'm not sure. But we'll be back soon with more content. Go out tonight, play some games that don't have a cash shop. Have some fun. I'll see you again soon. Thank you very much, folks.